Write in John Rhodes for U.S. Senate in North Carolina, or the Tea Party is dead. By Chuck Suter of ConstitutionalWar.org. As I've pointed out in past videos, John Rhodes was Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. Through the years of 2002 to 2006, he exposed the Democrat Jim Black, who ended up going to federal prison for 5 years, but also went after his own Republican Party for its corruption. Seeing the writing on the wall, John left the Republican Party after he was primaried and lost that primary to Tom Tillis, who is now the U.S. Senate candidate. At the time, Tillis was saying, John Rhodes needs to quit talking about Jim Black and criticizing Jim Black. He's just too much of a radical. But before I talk about John and why he is the best candidate to be elected and deserves your vote, let me give you a little brief history about the way politics actually works. In 2000, Ralph Nader was running for the presidency against Al Gore and George W. Bush. It all came down to Florida, and the Democrats spent a ton of money coming after Nader, saying, look, this Ralph Nader guy is going to get George W. Bush elected. Now, Nader was playing to the base of the Democrat Party. He was trying to energize the progressives, and they used the old line on Nader and Nader supporters that, vote for anybody but Al Gore is a vote for George Bush. Well, George Bush did end up winning, and a lot of you out there might say, see, yeah, exactly, Chuck. Well, right after the election, CNN had talked to Ralph Nader, and they asked Ralph, they said, listen there, Ralph, you've pretty much cost this election for Al Gore and handed it to George W. Bush. Do you have any regrets? Are you sorry now for what you did? And Ralph Nader looked straight in that camera and he said, absolutely not. Now, maybe the Democrat Party will pay more attention to its progressive socialist base. When Republicans were donating, the RNC was donating money to Ralph Nader. They were the biggest donators to the Ralph Nader campaign. What they were looking at was a short-term victory. They were going to get their guy into office. Unfortunately, George Bush turned out to be pretty progressive himself, tripling the size of government and appointing a Supreme Court Chief Justice that ruled that Obamacare is constitutional. That's neither here nor there. Ralph Nader also ran again and, maybe kept John Kerry from getting elected on those same principles. But he did not run in 2008 because the Democrat Party saw the writing on the wall and they listened to their progressive base, their Occupy Wall Street type, their grassroots. They got what they wanted. And Ralph Nader is pretty much the president today. They got Barack Obama, a socialist progressive. The Republican Party has some issues, but in 2008, in that campaign, what happened with the Ron Paul movement was it forced conservatives to actually look at constitutional government. Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, was running in that primary for the Republican nomination, and he was picked by some that he was actually going to make it. Now, think about Rudy Giuliani. Not the Rudy Giuliani we all love from the images of walking down the streets of New York and, he's going to make sure the city comes back together. Think of the Rudy Giuliani who was cross-dressing with Donald Trump. The Rudy Giuliani who is pro-gay marriage and anti-gun. And the Rudy Giuliani that's 100% pro-abortion. And now think about the Ron Paul and then later, the Tea Party folks that have come along and have forced, and Ted Cruz with his filibuster to force out the rhinos, to expose them. Think about that. Rudy Giuliani couldn't get his foot in a door. He'd be laughed at the Iowa caucus, at the Iowa straw poll. And just a few years ago, 6 years ago, he could have been the Republican nominee. The Tea Party and the Ron Paul movement, to the extent that the supporters of Ron Paul, the ones that are actual conservatives, not just anti-war and pro-drugs, those folks are forcing the party to become more conservative. We have great candidates like Ken Cuccinelli, like Matt Bevin, and then Chris McDaniel down in Mississippi. Well, look at what happened to Chris McDaniel. But before we talk about McDaniel, hold on a second. Let's go back to 2010. When Joe Miller won the Republican primary against Lisa Murkowski. And what did the establishment do? They said this Tea Party thing isn't real. It's going by the wayside. We're going to co-opt it and control it. And we're going to make it a Teocon movement instead of the taxed enough already, get the government out of our lives movement. I mean, there was thoughts of Dick Cheney actually being Tea Party, the guy who said deficits don't matter. I wish Obama and these liberals would use that one more often, just to drive that point home, because some of y'all out there just don't quite get it yet, that Bush and Cheney were very, very liberal and progressive. But Lisa Murkowski ran a write-in campaign, and it was a successful one. She actually defeated the Republican nominee. Hey, listen, guys. We're going to fight it out in the primary, and then we all unite behind the winner of the primary. Well, Joe Miller lost, and Lisa Murkowski went as a write-in candidate and actually won. Then you fast forward, Ken Cuccinelli last year. Well, hey man, Ken Cuccinelli, you're just a little bit too conservative for us in Virginia. And Karl Rove pulled all his money out and went and campaigned for Chris Jabba the Hutt Christie up in New Jersey. A guy who was holding hands on the beach with Barack Obama leading up to the 2012 elections. I mean, I kind of think I'm almost making this stuff up. It sounds so funny just coming out of my mouth. But then you had the primaries. Unfortunately, Rand Paul decided to endorse Mitch McConnell, and we had a good movement going here in North Carolina, fell short. Some issues with a lawsuit and other things, but that's neither here nor there, because I want to focus on the guy who was probably the most palatable candidate that could be not somebody who's going to offend the establishment, and somebody who is very appeasing and appealing, should I say, to the Tea Party, the grassroots, and that's Senator Chris McDaniel from down in Mississippi. Chris McDaniel, this guy has a proven track record. He's a state senator. I mean, he's just your average, husband, wife, 2 kids. You can't get any more Republican. What we're supposed to believe is the Republican message than Chris McDaniel. And guess what? Chris McDaniel wasn't able to get over that 50% threshold. He had to go into a runoff, and the establishment labeled him a racist. They used the race card just like the liberals. And you know what? They've got a 100% pro-abortion candidate who's losing his mind because of the Barber family down there. And the Barbers, I went to all these RNC meetings to try to get the rules fixed that were changed down in Tampa that have destroyed the grassroots and, pretty much eliminated any chance of a good Tea Party candidate being our presidential candidate in 2016. I mean, we'll still fight, but it's going to be a lot tougher. And Haley Barber's brother, Henry Barber, was there fighting Morton Blackwell. Long story. I got to get through this. I'm telling you, those Barbers are bad people. Chris McDaniel's a great person. Thad Cochran should be a Democrat. And the establishment and Karl Rove, the same guy who came into this state and picked Tom Tillis at the 2013 convention. Yeah, they did that. They did that. They did that to Ken Cuccinelli. They did that to Joe Miller. They did that to Chris McDaniel. So when they tell you that your vote is going to cost us the Senate, and the leadership of Mitch McConnell, who likes to have dinner with Barack Obama, who, when Ted Cruz was filibustering Obamacare, was with Richard Burr, the other senator from North Carolina, having dinner with Barack Obama. You know, Richard Burr, the same guy that said defunding Obamacare is the dumbest idea that he's ever heard of. The good thing is we got 500 signatures. John Rhodes is a legitimate write-in candidate. And the more votes that he gets, the more pain the Republican Party is caused, the more conservative it should be going forward. And if it won't be, screw them. We don't need them. They don't help us. They abandon our candidates when we win the nomination anyways. I don't give a damn if you find the perfect Tea Party. If you could bring in Jim DeMint, okay, and Chris McDaniel and Ronald Reagan and Barry Goldwater and Robert Taft and Calvin Coolidge, and you put them and bring back Jesse Helms, and you put them in North Carolina and you run them against Richard Burr, and they actually, one of them wins the primary against Richard Burr in 2016, or if you could just go back in time to this past primary and forget Greg Brannon or Heather Grant or any of the other anti-establishment challengers, and you could put Jesse Helms up against Thom Tillis, I tell you with betting the barn, okay, bet the farm, forget the barn, that they would not give a damn if Jesse Helms lost to Kay Hagan. Because they wouldn't, the Chamber of Commerce, the people that, you know, things have changed, okay? These groups that support the Republican Party, they don't support conservatives. They support special interests, and they want their kickbacks, and they want their cronyism, and they want them toll roads on I-77. And just like Mike Huckabee and Jeb Bush, boy, they want that Common Core money. Yeah, they sure do, don't they? They want that Common Core money and those kickbacks and all kinds of other things. You know, it could go on and on and on. I think I've made my point pretty good, though, don't you? You should, because I did. What you do is when you go to the ballot box, it will say, vote for the slimeball Thom Tillis or the scumbag Kay Hagan or the pro-amnesty, pro-abortion libertarian candidate. Or you can write in a candidate for U.S. Senate. You have to spell the name right. It's John Rhodes, R-H-O-D-E-S, Rhodes. And that will be considered a legitimate vote. Those votes will be tallied. And if, by some chance, Thom Tillis ends up in a bunch of trouble, and so does Kay Hagan, and things just can turn really bad here, you know, it's October. Get ready for those surprises. Maybe John Rhodes comes out of nowhere and wins it. But you shouldn't care if he wins or not. You should vote for him because he is most aligned with your principles. Now, if you like Obamacare state exchanges and you like public-private partnership toll roads, fascism, if you like giving our coastal waters over to Barack Obama like Thom Tillis is doing, if you like killing pro-Second Amendment legislation, and if you like fighting against a personhood amendment, by all means, vote for Thom Tillis. But I wish you guys would just be more clear about it so that the damn Republican Party boat would sink a little bit faster and we can get busy working on a way to get conservatives elected, because it's just about damn near impossible with this Republican Party. Okay? And don't give me this BS line that a vote for John Rhodes is a vote for Kay Hagan. No. A vote for Thom Tillis is a vote for Kay Hagan's agenda. Thom Tillis refused to sign on to the letter that Ted Cruz had up at don'tfundobamacare.com. He refused all the way to the end. I mean, never signed it. He refused. And then the day that they voted to defund it, he said, yeah, I think we should look at doing things through the CR as well. That was it. He doesn't want to defund Obamacare. He thinks you're nuts, just like Richard Burr. So go vote for him. Go vote for him. And I'm trying my best not to throw any insults at you guys that do. I just want you guys to look yourself in the mirror and say, yes, I need to vote for Thom Tillis. And all this information that goes into your brain, bangs around, I don't know, maybe it's empty in there. Just bing, bing, bing. Telling you folks, I mean, this is not just like me. And a lot of you guys think that like I'm the mastermind behind all of this or whatever, and oh, Chuck's convincing people to leave the party. I'm convincing nobody. I'm laying some information out there. These people already have this in their own mind. I mean, a lot of these folks are way more upset than I am. I mean, I haven't even left the party yet. I plan on it. I burnt my registration card, but a lot of these folks are done. They're out of it. I mean, they're even sick of Tea Party groups, because Tea Party groups that they were involved with have turned into support Thom Tillis groups. Way to go. Way to go, you guys out there. You bootlickers. And you are. Not everybody supporting Thom Tillis. I'm talking about the ones who are gung-ho and have loved him since day one. Just can't get enough of Thom Tillis, who appoints Democrats from other states to the Board of Governors. A guy who went and paintballed somebody's barn because he didn't like him. A guy who his roommate is cheating on his wife, and Tom says, I don't know nothing about that. So, be what it may be. Justice be done, may the heavens fall. Write in John Rhodes if you want to force a more conservative government in North Carolina. And that is the only way that you will ever make a more conservative government in this state, that state, any state, local, state, federal. You're going to have to force your will for a more conservative government onto those governing bodies, because they take you for granted. They take you. You're just like a sure thing. You're that booty call at 2 a.m. Oh man, I couldn't get lucky at the bar. Let me call up those conservatives. Hey, this is Thom Tillis. I've just been thinking about you all night long. Meanwhile, all night long, he's out there on the dance floor with Karl Rove, with Chris Christie and Jeb Bush and Lindsey Graham and all these folks in the Chamber of Commerce. And now he's calling you up in the midnight hour. Oh man, I tell you what, I just want to stop by and say hi. How you guys doing? Oh yeah. When you see that on your caller ID, don't answer it, okay? I mean, take a damn stand at some point. And right now, Patrick Henry once said, when will we be stronger? Next week? A few months from now? Next election? What are you going to sit there and purchase? Is life so dear, is peace so sweet? You're going to be purchase it with chains from your necks to your feet. Little Jordan Page twist on that Patrick Henry line, but never? Seriously? I mean, just for all eternity. Hold your nose. Hold your nose and vote Thom Tillis. I'm going to hold my nose because we have to get rid of Kate Hagan. They hear you say this. They're watching you guys. You are taking any influence that you have at all and throwing it in the trash can. You have no influence at all. I mean, they don't even care. They could stop. North Carolina has a supermajority. The Senate, the House, the governor, the courts. and you get toll road, public-private partnership toll roads, you lose your coastal waters, you get Common Core, no personhood amendment to defend the unborn babies, and they crush every strong gun bill. I mean, there are some things that get done. Well, guess what? You're allowed to carry a gun at the state fair now, but Steve Truxler, agricultural commissioner, has come out and did a press conference and said he was pressured by leadership in the body, in the General Assembly. Well, guess what? It wasn't Phil Berger. I can tell you it was not Phil Berger. Phil Berger's all worried about this? Phil Berger's on vacation, man. They don't come back till next year. Tom Tillis doesn't want to be seen as the Second Amendment kook who thinks you should be able to carry a gun because you have a concealed carry permit at a state fair. Yeah, I'll level that charge. You're damn right I will.